On January 13th, the Supreme Court heard oral arguments in two cases, Little v. Hecox and West Virginia v. B.P.J. They concerned whether states must allow transgender athletes who are male into women's sports under the Constitution and Title IX.
At bottom, it's about whether the Supreme Court will affirm the right of states to be able to make distinctions based on sex when those distinctions matter.
For probably about a year now, February 6th, I was 15 years old with an 18-year-old man in my locker room, as well as going against my girls' basketball team.
Less than a decade ago, the transgender movement seemed invincible. Today, it appears to be in cultural retreat. Since 2020, 27 states have passed laws or policies banning biological males from female sports, and Republicans made a successful 2024 campaign issue out of it. Speaking on the eve of the Supreme Court hearing, former college swimmer turned activist Riley Gaines blamed, in part, the Democratic Party for diminishing and erasing women's rights.
Don't let them frame it any other way. They love to hide behind words like compassion and empathy and inclusion. Let me be very, very clear. What me and what my teammates faced, it was not inclusive. It was exclusive, because we as women were excluded from participating, from competing, from calling ourselves champions.
The climb down isn't only in women's sports. Corporations are dropping pride flags and pronouns. In 2021, Amazon removed Ryan T. Anderson's book Critical of Gender Ideology, When Harry Became Sally, but reinstated it last year.
This month I celebrated my day 365 of womanhood, and Bud Light sent me possibly the best gift ever, a can with my face on it.
In 2023, customers boycotted Bud Light for featuring a transgender TikTok personality in its ads, costing the company perhaps as much as $1.4 billion in sales. The trench work done by the Alliance Defending Freedom and many others has helped recenter cultural attitudes on transgenderism. So has Donald Trump, who, following his return to office, signed an executive order banning transgender athletes from participating in women's sports.
With my action this afternoon, we're putting every school receiving taxpayer dollars on notice that if you let men take over women's sports teams or invade your locker rooms, you will be investigated for violations of Title IX and risk your federal funding. There will be no federal funding.
Advocates of transgenderism tried to build on the success of the gay marriage movement, which clinched constitutional recognition in Obergefell v. Hodges in 2015.
This decision affirms what millions of Americans already believe in their hearts. When all Americans are treated as equal, we are all more free.
But transgenderism unravels the LGBTQ+ acronym because it exposes the consequences and inconsistencies of progressive ideology.
Same-sex attraction, the LGB, has nothing to do with wanting different sex characteristics or a different identity, which is the TQ+. Those letters represent the harmful ideology that's impacting kids' education, and parents need to be aware that saying this jumble of letters together reinforces the harmful ideology that you oppose.
Another inconsistency is the transgender movement's demotion of women. If sex isn't real, the lived reality of women globally is erased, tweeted J.K. Rowling in 2020.
I mentioned the Democratic Party. You could point a finger at many different institutions, the NCAA being one of them. We were told, loud and clear, that our rights to safety, our rights to privacy in areas of undressing, our rights to equal opportunity, they didn't matter. They certainly didn't matter as much as the boys' feelings.
Another inconsistency is transgenderism's plain denial of physical reality.
What is a woman? Can you tell me that?
What is a Woman was the mocking title of Matt Walsh's popular film presenting transgenderism's bad logic to the masses. It was also a variation of the question that Ketanji Brown Jackson couldn't answer during her Supreme Court nomination hearing.
Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
Can I provide a definition? No.
Yeah.
I can't.
The transgender movement is now tripping over the physical travesty it created.
Gender-affirming care is life-saving, medically necessary, age-appropriate, and a critical tool for healthcare providers.
Men and women who were convinced as children to chop off healthy body parts are now suing the doctors that convinced them to do so. Some are detransitioning.
These procedures are irreversible, and so we shouldn't be doing that to a child. I have no problem with someone who is an adult.
The imposition of transgender orthodoxy challenges the basic promises of American life: free speech, free religious exercise, and the rights of parents to raise their children. And while the sports cases now at the Supreme Court don't all intersect legally with the many other transgender lawsuits percolating in the courts, they do underscore the folly of ceding to notions of gender identity.
When the law doesn't recognize biological distinctions, it is women and girls who will suffer the most, and that is playing out in real time. And as believers and just as humans, we have an obligation to stand up for truth.